All right, Mike, when we spoke to you on the bus of all places the other day, you were saying how chilled out you are before fights. You don't tend to get dialed into the opponent until close to the fight. When is it that you flip that switch and it goes from being cordial to being go time?
Yeah, you always have like different moments. So I think the first moment's obviously going to be the weigh-in. It's the look. There's a certain energy there that you kind of have to switch on for. And then again, it's back to chilling, relaxing. And then the next time is when I'm walking into that arena, in the changing room. At that point, I'm MVP, and then it's just taking all that energy into the cage.
I think this is the first rematch of your career. So, has that affected or changed the way that you normally prepare for fights? Is this different because it's a known opponent this time around?
No, it's only different because I felt you. Like I felt your strengths and weaknesses. It makes it easier because obviously it's the unknown factor. With anybody else, you know what you're doing and how hard you're working in the gym, but is it gonna be effective against that person on that day? And because I felt him, regardless of what's happened, I felt him. I know exactly what to expect. I know how strong he is. I felt that his low kick, the speed of it, and the timing of it, it makes it easier going back in the second time. Of course, he's going to make slight adjustments. I don't think he's going to do too much different. He's going to be hoping to kind of win in a similar fashion.
So, given what you just said, does that mean that we can expect a faster start in general from the pair of you because that feeling out process has already been done once before? Does that mean that you kind of have the range already and you can be more confident to throw your strikes earlier in the first round than maybe you would on a normal fight?
Definitely from my point, but from his side, I don't think he even has the fast pace. I think he's only ever in gear 2 his whole career. Which is why I think it's a positive thing, and I think I've spoken to you guys about it. It's a positive thing and it's a negative thing. Positive is when you come up against a frustrating opponent like me, where I normally drag people out their shell, he's just like, nope, just going to chill in gear 2 and continue, going at that set pace. Whereas when he's losing a fight and he needs to kind of leave that kind of space and leave gear 2 to kind of push the fight a little bit more, he's still like, nope, I'm going to continue going at that pace. And obviously you've seen that in a couple of, the last 2 fights and, previous fights that I've watched before where you feel like he could have done a little bit more and he probably could have won the fight, but just sat in gear 2. So again, positive and negative to that.
How much is your ability to frustrate him going to be a factor in this? He's coming into this fight, he spoke to us, same day we spoke to you earlier in the week. He's on a 2-fight skid. He's really not happy with how he performed last time out against Amosov. He knows he has to put in a good performance this weekend. How much is your fighting style and ability to frustrate him going to play into this one, given that he really wants to push forward and get another big win this weekend?
Well, to be fair, I'm only ever going to be myself, and that's usually frustrating enough. I'm not going to try and add any extra in hope that he is. Like I said, he doesn't tend to, regardless of what he says, he doesn't tend to budge from, or do too much. So I'm not going to, there's no point in me trying to, go in that direction when there's a roadblock, X's, I can't go down that road, I'm just going to go down this way, where I know it's an easier route to the finish. So for me, it's simply a case of doing what I do best. I know the timing that I want, I know the distance that I want, and just putting it on him and getting rid of him as soon as possible.
Perfect.
Michael, the Countdown series made a big deal of Lima's low kicks, showed him practicing them before. I suppose if I speak to what happened in the first fight, it seemed like you were in control for the most part, right? You had, the oblique kicks were killing him. Even when he took you down, you were dominant, you were doing the most damage. What things do you change? I suppose I know you said that you got a bit careless for the finish. What do you change in training to ensure that you don't kind of see the finish come in and get a bit excited? What do you do in training? How do you manage that?
To be fair, that side of it is more a mental side on my point. It's very weird because that was a very rare moment for me anyway. It was something that I tend to not do. I'm happy to, you've seen me before, knock somebody down and let them back up. There's no panic to finish the fight. I'm like, I'm already winning. When I get to that kind of state, I'm like, there is nothing you can do now. I've already got your time in, I've got all of that. So I don't know what it was per se for him, maybe the competition, maybe going into the next, the final, and I couldn't tell you, but there was something in that very moment when I saw his legs go, I was like, damn, I'm about to finish this now. So I'm not sure what it was really. But I just know I'm not going to go back there. There's no reason for me to panic. There's no rush. I can take my time, see his legs wobble, and just enjoy that moment, and then take my time and find that shot again. Take my time, find that shot again. Because again, as you say, I was very dominant, and I feel like he was, because I know him in terms of not being able to push past that gear. Nothing was going to change. Even if it went to the decision, nothing more was going to change. He's always going to be the same thing. He's going to get hit, and he's not going to find a shot. Like I said, if I take that carelessness out, then I already won the fight. And this is why I'm so confident going back in. And if he decides to do something abnormal, and actually does decide, based on what he said, he has been saying, and he starts pushing forward, he's going to run into something horrible. Absolutely horrible. Which is just going to make the fight finish 10 times quicker. So I'll pick him up and we can go to after party.
Speaking of the finish, Michael, we've seen Infinity Stones. I've seen you doing the Iverson crossover in the first fight. We've seen Pokemon Go. What you got planned for this one when you get the finish done?
You know what? I was talking to someone just before. It's weird in this one. I'm always a person that's like, read the crowd. Do you know what I mean? So obviously in Japan, when I finished, you read the crowd. They're very respectful people. They're very, they pride themselves in that. When I'm on my knees, and that was it. So you read the crowd. So for here, it genuinely feels to me that they don't need much more than the W. Like everybody here is here because they want me to win. That is it. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't feel like I need to. I've got a couple of ideas, but in all honesty, the likeliness is I don't need to do much more. To be fair, I'm going to put on a show before I even get in the cage, so it's all good.
And then last one for me, guys, if I can. So you had a bit of fun with arms. Like, talk to that. I see you in the corner. Did it look like did he get any time with barrier? Why wasn't he active on his back?
You know what? It's always a shame. Like I wish we could show more in the gym before fights, so people can kind of see what we see. Obviously, kind of gives away your game, so you can't do too much. But the only problem was obviously with everybody, especially with their first time. You don't know how you're going to perform when the cameras are on, when the lights are on, when the people are there. In the gym, he was literally on point doing this. Okay, okay, and he picked up things. He's an athlete. He's truly is an athlete, and he picked up things so quickly, man. Like we were genuinely impressed. And all the things that he kind of got caught out with in terms of like the takedown and the stuff on the ground, just left his head. And it happens. I've had teammates who've gone in on their first fight and they struggle to kind of get past the occasion. And it's weird when we were speaking about like the whole COVID thing and crowds not being there. I was like, certain people are going to perform better because they are so much. A lot of them is just beating themselves. But I've heard so many people, and I've seen it, the guys in the gym that are killers. And when you go out and watch them, you're like, oh, man, like I want you to show everybody else what I see. So it was that for him. He's a lot better as an athlete. But the good thing is it's given him the bug to kind of continue learning and to continue getting better. So you might see him back in there again.
Get some time in the area.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Just two from me, if that's okay. Firstly, I want to ask, back in London with a crowd, how does that feel to be fighting in front of fans again? In London?
In London, you've seen me before. I always perform, I always lift, that energy in the arenas that we are over here is great, especially when I walk out. This time, I feel like everything we've seen before in the past in terms of the energy in the crowd, it's going to be times 100. It's going to be times 100. It's going to be so much noise in there. There's going to be people it's going to be one of those nights similar to like the Cyborg, where it's like where if you was there, you remember that moment. You remember everything, the sound, the this, the that. You like this person that was sitting next to me. It's one of those moments I can feel it. I'm going to give it to so many people that are in there. They're going to go back home to their friends, families, this, that, and just constantly be talking about it for months on end. So seriously, I'm looking forward to it.
I want to talk about Anthony Joshua's fought against Alexander Usyk last weekend. Evaluation on that? What's your thoughts on that, and what could be next?
Yeah, to be fair, I feel that Anthony Joshua just went with the wrong game plan. Him and his team, that was it. Usyk is an unbelievable boxer. Moves so well, so slick, timing of jabs, this, that, all of that. I wouldn't go in there trying to outbox him. That's not the game plan. And the fact that even afterwards he said, yeah, you know, he wanted to try and, you know, outbox him and stuff. I'm like, for what reason? That doesn't make sense. He's had 300 fights, you know, in the amateur before he even got there. I'm sorry, but in terms of boxing, they could have that fight a million times and you're not outboxing him. So let's just say, okay, shut that down. Where are your attributes? You are an athletic man, the bigger fighter. Usyk got not that many people out in his own division, let alone he's coming up. Yes, over time, so towards the 12th round, you obviously saw shots, the cumulative shots start to take effect. But it took 12 rounds, and he was landing quite a lot. So my thing is, you could have double guarded and walked that guy down and landed massive shots, because he's the bigger athlete, and he was definitely going to land the bigger punches. He landed one crazy punch, and it hit that one nearly enough, took him out. Had his legs going and made him start running, and kind of almost brought a little momentum to swing in his in his favour. But he decided to go back to boxing, standing still and then moving backwards. He was never going to win that fight that way.
Just lastly, with the AJ loss, the English combat sport fans, you know, on a bit of a down now. So are you looking to relight that fire again Friday?
Yeah, I was looking to do that regardless. You know, it would have been good if AJ won and I could add to that. But yeah, to be fair, like I said, it's going to be a special moment for everybody. So if it lights their fire back, puts a smile back on people's faces, then I've done my job.
Now, obviously, you're not a fighter that's used to losing. You only ever had one loss in your career. I was just wondering, after that period, did you kind of have a few dark weeks, dark months, or was it just straight back to the gym and getting back on it?
So the used to